Hi everyone. This video is to help give you some guidance and to help you start with brainstorming for the first assignment of entering the conversation. First, let's go back and take a look at our steps to completing this essay and looking at the process for assignment one. Right underneath the purpose of the assignment, you see that it says first we'll focus on comprehension of De Cruz's essay through reading responses and in-class discussions and activities. You are not required to work with every claim De Cruz makes or cite in her essay. So use this time to highlight or note in some way the claims in De Cruz's text that you are drawn to and that you might engage with for assignment one. You will ultimately need to work with direct quotes from the De Cruz essay, so it is a good idea to start identifying early on what those might be. So, some of you may find it helpful and benefit from printing out the reading. I am one of those people that deal very well with paper. Others will find it beneficial to find some type of software, whether it's Adobe or some way to open up the document, the reading itself, and be able to annotate that way. But the most important thing, or you might just be a person that like to keep notes and actually write out your notes. However you want to do it, it is totally up to you. It is just how you are engaging with the text. But one thing I want you to take a look at, and I provided this for you, was an example of how I annotated it. As you can see off to the side, I wrote little notes for myself, this idea of things that come to me as I was reading the text. I highlighted and I highlighted different colors because I wanted to make sure that I could understand and see when De Cruz was talking about what she was saying, what she was arguing, her claims, and claims that she used from other people. I also wrote off to the side different things that stuck out to me. I highlighted different authors in different colors, as you can see with Descartes. I highlighted what I thought was going to be her controlling idea, hence the term CI. And then I put off also to the side in shorthand, basically what she defines awe and how she defines wonder. You could also see there that I did highlight, although I believe that was probably a gray color that came up, but I highlighted that as well. So when we say annotate, the purpose of you doing this is to help you and assist you for when you begin to write, so you don't have to keep going back to the text. If you have it already there for you, then you'll be able to just go right into the writing process without having to read the almost 20 pages again to say, okay, where can I pull these claims? Just writing them out. What I also provided for you was some free writing activities and some questions for you to consider and think about as you are both reading and as you are starting to make that transition into the activity that you will have to do for this week. Also, getting ready to do the brainstorming and start doing your drafting for this paper. So, some of the things you can think about for yourself on the I say side of this is thinking about wonder and awe and defining them in your own words. So consider life through a child's lens and view the world with a sense of awe and wonder. What kind of question comes to mind when looking out the window or around the room? For example, when I was a kid, I was in awe how things work. Make a list of claims that you resonate with or claims that you want to explore further. So a claim is basically saying, if I said that I was in awe of how things work, that is a claim. Then the next thing I would put down was like I would look at the train and how the train would go on along the tracks, and I wonder how the train will work. That's evidence of thinking about the idea of making that claim on how things work. Then you will want to think about, do you have questions about any of the claims? How could you explore these questions? Then you will want to move into moments of wonder that you have experienced within the past week as instances of everyday awe and wonder. How can we begin connecting these experiences with the claims highlighted in the first list? Thus, we're creating a conversation not only with De Cruz, but also within ourselves on how that we interact or we explore wonder and awe. And as Keltner said in last week's reading, the idea of wonder and awe in everyday simplicity. Then once you're done reading, if you're close to being done reading, I would say take a look at these questions, but think about the idea of what evidence is shown that support De Cruz's ideas. So whatever she's saying or whatever she argues, what evidence does she give for that? So for example, the one with the Tyson DeGrasse, the DeGrasse Tyson scientist that talks about the vastness of space. She talks about the idea that how space seemed like to be this vast wonder of awe, but then she goes back and she talks about how DeGrasse was actually kind of like that it wasn't that big of a awe, but then thinking about what others thought, like Galileo, and how people used to view the space and be able to see the Milky Way. And then we have the whole idea of light pollution and how we interpret this space now. So think about the evidence that she gives for any of the claims. Anything that she says, well, I agree with this person, or I agree, but go back and look and see how does she back up why she agrees with that person or even disagrees. Then the next thing you can look at is, what experience do I have that supports De Cruz? So if she's talking about, maybe you do look up at the sky and you wonder the vastness of space, or you look at the vastness of the ocean and you think about these things. What experience do you have that would interact with that? So for example, for me, it would be being on the ocean and nothing else is around and thinking about the vastness of the ocean, which I could compare in the same comparison of having awe and wonder that De Cruz talks about space. If what De Cruz says is true, what else may be true? So whatever claim that she's making, if you believe what De Cruz is saying, what else do you know must be a fact? If space is vast, what else must be true that we haven't explored it or we don't know enough about it? Something to that effect. What evidence or experience do I have that disproves De Cruz? If it's something that you're saying, well, space isn't vast, we have explored because we've been to the moon, because she doesn't really mention going to the moon, but you say we've been to the moon. However, you will want to disprove it. Counter arguments to De Cruz that you or the text provide, and what might be the negative implication of what De Cruz is presenting. Ask yourself what the difference is between awe and wonder. How do they differ from one another in the text? You can even go back and say, how do they differ from what Keltner described and defined as wonder and awe? So remember, all the readings from this semester are always available for you to use as sources and to be in conversation with. The main one you want to focus on is this De Cruz. Another thing that you want to think about is, what do you think is her central argument, or what we would consider to be the thesis statement or the controlling idea? What exactly does she want to explore? And if you can put that into your own words, because remember, ultimately, when you write about this text, your reader hasn't read it. So you have to give them enough of your understanding of what De Cruz is talking about. You won't be able to give them all of what De Cruz is talking about in a 5-page paper, but give them enough. That way they can walk away understanding what De Cruz is saying in order to make their own informed judgment, just like you have done. So the next thing that you will want to do is actually put what De Cruz is saying to the text. So what you're going to do is, for this week, is in our gateway reading, remember that Keltner says that he describes an activity called an awe walk. Along with Virginia Strum, a UC San Francisco neuroscientist, I studied the effects of an awe walk. One group of subjects took a weekly walk for 8 weeks. The other group did the same, but with some instructions. Tap into your childlike sense of wonder. Imagine you're seeing everything for the first time. Take a moment during each walk to notice the vastness of things when looking at a panoramic view, for example, or at the detail of a flower. And go somewhere new and try to recognize new features of the same old place. So, what I would like for you to do is give this a try. We can use Keltner's instructions. So take the time to tap into your childlike senses of wonder, imagining that you're seeing something for the first time as you get ready to go on this walk. What details do stick out to you that you may not have paid attention to before? So what you're going to do is take a 10-minute walk somewhere, set your own timer so you can come back. On your walk, try to tap into your childlike sense of wonder, imagining you're seeing everything for the first time. Take a moment during each walk to notice the vastness of things, whether large or small, and go somewhere new and try to recognize new features of the same old place. Once you are back, answer the following questions in this Blackboard assignment link. Where did you go? You want to tell your readers, where did you go? Did you experience a sense of awe or wonder? Why or why not? You need to be able to explain that or give evidence for that. If you were able to experience wonder but not awe, why do you think that was the case? And make sure that you have an understanding of the definition of the two. How much were you able to follow Keltner's instructions? If they were hard to follow, what made them hard? If they were easy, what advice can you offer to someone who has trouble tapping into their sense of wonder? As you can see, this assignment is built for you to be able to start being in conversation, not only with Keltner, but also with Day Cruz. Because as you start giving that advice, you ultimately have a reader that you are writing to. And also at the bottom of this, it gives this definition of awe and wonder for Day Cruz and how Day Cruz defined it. I will also advise that before you go on this walk, in your own words, write out your own personal definition of what you consider to be wonder and what you consider to be awe, and then go on your walk and see how it may compare. I will also advise that maybe you might want to take a notepad with you so you could take down some notes so that way you could be a descriptive, because you want to consider and think about that your reader is not going on this walk, but in a sense, you're doing just like De Cruz and Keltner, you're taking them on a walk with you. As always, if you have any concerns or questions at any time, please let me know. I am available. Shoot me an email. If you need to meet with me, let me know. Otherwise, have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you.